Hi, friends. Welcome to another edition of the Inside BS Show. I'm Dave Lorenzo, and today we're talking to quite possibly my favorite family law attorney. I gotta give that some thought. She's definitely my favorite family law attorney in Maryland. Sorry, other people who are clients who work in Maryland, but she may be my favorite family law attorney overall. Sandy Brooks is a family law attorney in Maryland, and her practice focuses on all aspects of family law. She dedicates her time to assisting clients in domestic law matters, including divorce, child custody, visitation, family mediation, spousal and child support, property division, and division of retirement benefits. Sandy's other areas of deep knowledge and experience include tax consequences of divorce, mediation, prenuptial agreements, postnuptial agreements, negotiating and drafting of separation agreements, litigation, post-judgment proceedings, and really all things that involve dissolving a marriage or protecting you when a marriage is dissolved. Sandy's a member of the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, which places her in the top 5% of all family law attorneys in the United States. She works in Maryland, but she can give generalized advice to people throughout the country, and she's great for referrals. If you need a referral in another state, Sandy will be happy to help you. Please join me in welcoming Sandy Brooks to the Inside BS Show. All right, Sandy, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, and what an introduction. I am going to make sure that I keep that recording where you said I was your favorite family lawyer in all of Maryland.
I know. So now everybody else who's in your office, who I also work with, is going to go, oh, so Sandy Brooks is your favorite, huh? Exactly. All right. So, Sandy, let's start with why you chose family law, because I have a lot of lawyers who listen to the show, who watch on YouTube, and we all know family law is a difficult practice area because it's emotionally tough on people, men, women, it doesn't matter. It's emotionally draining. Why did you choose family law?
So it's funny because I don't think any family lawyer chooses family law. We don't go to law school or finish law school saying, hey, I want to do family law. I actually started in tax controversy. So I was doing estate planning and I was doing tax controversy work. And frankly, I just didn't find it very fulfilling. I didn't feel like I was doing enough to help the members of my community. So there was an opening to work with a woman named Cheryl Hepfer, who is, I would say the best family lawyer I've ever even seen in court or worked with. And so I gave it a shot. I called everybody I knew, and I got an interview with her, and she was the one dumb enough to hire me. But since then, they say the burnout rate for a family lawyer is about 3 years, but I was completely sucked in. I mean, the ability to help the families and the children through such a difficult time. I mean, I'm not a product of a divorced family from childhood, so it was new, interesting, and frankly, I just wanted to help as much as I could. And then the number piece kind of just fell into place, dealing with businesses and assets and retirements because I had that background.
Talk about what a huge competitive advantage that is for you, because I work with a lot of family law attorneys who struggle with that aspect of their practice. How is your aptitude for numbers a huge advantage?
I think you're right. I think that even in my practice, when I'm talking to other family lawyers or, negotiating with other family lawyers, some are actually afraid of the numbers. I mean, it's quite clear. And, some I just try and help walk through the numbers because we're all trying to work towards the same goal of helping this family move on. Well, at least I hope we are all working towards that goal. But I do think it's a huge advantage because, some people are doing these cases and word cost basis doesn't even cross their mind, or, the tax consequences of certain stock units or vested versus unvested. So I do think that I have an advantage in that I don't know if it comes naturally to me, or I do really still enjoy the numbers. All of my children are really good in math. I was really good in math. I don't know. I really like it.
All right. So one of the things, you touched on is burnout with family law attorneys. And years ago, it's got to be over a decade ago now, I came across collaborative family law, right? And you're certified in that. Explain to people what collaborative family law, the collaborative approach to family law is, how it works, and who it's a good fit for.
So collaborative law it's not good for everybody. So I think that the attorney has to really assess the parties, both parties, and it's really for one, it's very expensive, I must say. So you're hiring coaches, so you may have a coach for the financial aspect to help you with the numbers. So that may be a CPA or a financial advisor. You have maybe a therapeutic coach to help you walk through the issues with the children. So, and then everybody meets together. So then the attorneys are there, both attorneys, both parties, any coaches. So from a financial aspect, it can be very expensive. The benefit is that it is collaborative. I mean, the goal is that everybody's amicable and we're all here to reach a resolution that's fair for everybody. So I can say that, I do collaborative like in probably all of my cases, or at least I try to. So because once you start the collaborative process, that attorney is not your litigator if need be. You have to switch, which also makes it more expensive. But I think collaborative and collaborative like is the way to go because nobody wants to be in court. But if you do end up in court, I'm happy to be there too. I love litigating, but I do settle probably 99% of my cases.
Well, and when your client comes to you, that's something you have to establish up front, correct? Hey, listen, you don't want litigation is not designed to be fair, cheap, or quick. So, what are your goals for this matter? And I think more than any other type of litigation, family law has the highest degree of emotional involvement, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's through the roof. And I like to say it's good people in their worst times because it's really tough, especially if you have your children involved and they're minors. So yeah, when somebody comes in, you just explain there's different options and there's different processes. So there is the litigation route, there's the mediation route, there's a collaborative route. There's a lot of arbitration going on these days because the courts were moving a bit slow in some jurisdictions. So there are a lot of really good trained arbitrators, and that may be better for somebody. So these are all different aspects that family lawyers should be talking to their clients about.
Yeah. What's the biggest surprise to clients when they first in their initial consultation with you? What about the process actually shocks people when they come in?
So I think that most people, I shouldn't say most people, but I think that there is a conception that if you're going to file for divorce or you're going to get divorced, you're immediately in court and you're immediately going to be in front of a judge. And so talking about the different options, I think is good. I think another thing that does seem to shock most people is if one party is alleged to have committed adultery. So in the party's mind who committed the adultery, they're typically, that's the main thing on their mind. They have to tell me, I have to tell you something. I've been having an affair and I'm afraid I'm going to lose my kids. Or the other person that says, I know my spouse is having an affair and he shouldn't or she shouldn't have the children. And so the client's thought of how adultery in particular plays a part in custody, I think is interesting because, unless somebody's committing adultery in front of the children, unless there's an impact on the children, then, our courts don't put much weight on that. It's really your ability to parent. So I think that is a common question that I get in almost every case that involves adultery is what is the impact on custody if minor children are involved? And isn't he or she going to go to the cleaners because they committed adultery? So it's kind of a bit of a reality check, I think.
Yeah, and one of the things that always, that always kind of makes me look at this process as one that really needs to be given a lot of thought before it's entered into is from the perspective of the spouse who has more financial means than the other spouse. So both spouses can be working. One spouse, has more access to income or has a higher degree of income than the other spouse. When you go your separate ways, generally one person is paying for two residences, and you have to furnish two residences for the kids because you now have alternate arrangements in the short term and maybe in the long term for the kids, and you're paying for a lot of things in duplicate. People don't really think that through. Somebody packs a bag and they move out, and the next thing they know, they're being served, and you just doubled your expenses, right? And that to me is something that my friends who go through divorce, and it's later in life, and they happen to be the spouse that has a higher degree of income, it shocks them. And they're like, I got to pay for twice. I got to pay for double everything. Well, yes, these choices have consequences, right? And that includes ultimately at the end of the proceedings or during the proceedings, that's going to include the lawyers too, right, Sandy?
Absolutely. And I think it goes both ways. I think that sometimes the dependent spouse is shocked at the client who is, or the spouse who is earning more, their inability for the dependent spouse to maintain that lifestyle. So they're thinking, well, I've always had this lifestyle, so why would there be any issue with me maintaining this lifestyle? So the breaking it down very simply is you have one household and the income is what it is as a marital unit. And then when you separate, you're going to have two households. So there's usually some downsizing that needs to happen in some of these cases. And there's usually some support that needs to be paid for somebody to get on their feet again or back to work, or maybe it's, they're never going to become self-supporting. It depends on the case. But it is, it is a lifestyle change. You're going to have to make some changes, whether it be, in the two households, in your cars, in your vacation travels. But you're right. It's we've got to take that one pot of marital money and we have to figure out how to spread it out in two households.
Have you seen often where couples who are, maybe they've been married for a very long time and maybe the kids are out of the house and they just decide for financial purposes they're not going to get divorced because it's just their lifestyle is going to change so dramatically that they'll live separate lives under the same roof? Have you seen that?
Yes. So, and that's where in some cases we may end up drafting a postnuptial agreement. So that's an agreement that you can have while you're still married. But there are a number of circumstances and cases that I've done wherein the parties do not want to be married, but they're remaining married for a lot of times. There's a health insurance component to it, whether it be health insurance, whether it be the family business and financial reasons. But yeah, they will stay together. There's also been, depending on the market and where we are with housing, sometimes people will stay together because they can't sell their house, which is their main asset. So they'll just live on separate, floors of the house until the market picks back up. Right now, I think a lot of people, what I'm seeing now since the shutdown, unfortunately, is an increase in domestic violence, mental and physical abuse cases, because whether you're stuck inside, and some people are too afraid to leave the house. And right now, there are a lot of people that want to separate, but are not going to until they're vaccinated or it's safe or whatever the reason due to COVID.
I've seen a lot of affluent people. I've worked with a handful of affluent people who are no longer with their spouse, and I want to say their default choice is to not get divorced until and if one of them decides they're going to get remarried again. And the way they just figure stuff out is they already had two homes anyway. I'll just move into this house. It's amazing what happens when money doesn't enter into the equation. The spouse that has access to the higher degree of income was already giving the other spouse a quote unquote allowance, and maybe they agree to increase the allowance, and they're just going to live in separate places, and as long as everything remains the same, the things will stay the way they are because they don't want to invest in the legal aspects of this. I've seen that several times over the last 3 or 4 years where these people are affluent. They just have two homes. The spouse who moves out moves into the other home. As long as the kids are adults and they're grown, let's not change our lifestyle and let's not give a lot of money to the legal process. Let's just deal with this way unless and until somebody decides they want to get married.
So that's, I've seen that. I've seen that also. And as you said, though, I mean, I've had two of these matters in the past year, and both involved children that were grown. And they did have different houses. So, and they were in different states, frankly. So, and they just, retitled things in trusts. And we were able to help them retitle things how they want to. But really, nothing is going to happen until one party wants to remarry. And in either of them, if they even want to remarry. They seem to be happy going about their separate lives, but maintaining all the financial aspects. And also there's tax benefit to filing jointly and having these business assets, and then having one spouse who, in one of the cases, the one spouse is the owner. She's female, but there is a tax benefit because she's a minority owner. So they don't want to separate that right now. Although you don't have to separate your business either when you're going through a divorce, but all these assets have to be addressed in Maryland. So sometimes it's easier. Stay married.
Yeah. All right. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the interesting aspects of working with people who are going through a difficult time in their lives. I like to say that your job as a family law attorney is to help people get through this process mentally, psychologically, emotionally, and fiscally in the best position possible. But really, aren't there just degrees of bad for both parties when it comes to a divorce? And how do you address that with your client when you first come into contact with them?
So I can say that I consider myself a lucky family lawyer because the majority of my clients are pretty wealthy. So they have resources for the tools that I would say they need. So by way of example, I am a huge advocate for therapy. Not because I think any of my clients are crazy, but you have to learn to communicate with your spouse, even if you despise them, for the benefit of the children. I mean, I'm an advocate for my clients, but one of the first things I say to them is, if there are minor children involved, I cannot help but want to do what's best for them first. It's just how my brain works. I'm going to make sure the kids are taken care of, and then we can figure out the money. I mean, again, to me, money's money. It's easy. We'll figure it out. And so therapy is a big deal. And so I have a large connection or a large group of therapists that I like to work with that I think do really well in these cases. So that's one tool that I try and give clients in this process. And then as far as the financial piece goes, there are really good accountants. I mean, it's another person I want to connect my client with. And sometimes, most times, one spouse, the non-dependent spouse, has their own financial planner, their own accountant. And so I want to hook the dependent spouse up with somebody that they trust and that we're looking long-term into the future, into the assets. And that's it. I mean, I say to people, I am a lawyer. I can negotiate a really good deal for you. I can litigate a great case for you, but I am a lawyer. I put evidence before the court and I negotiate. The jobs that the therapist can do, I don't want to take. I don't want to do that. So I am still a counselor, and then the accountants. I mean, these are all people that have great benefit to cases, and I think in helping get me good resolutions.
Talk about the myth of an uncontested divorce, because even if everything is agreed to, something always comes up, right? There really is nothing. There's no such thing as an uncontested divorce, correct?
I'm trying. The uncontested divorce would be somebody already came to me with an agreement. But how did they even get to the agreement? They might have gone through the mediation process. You're right. To be an uncontested divorce means that you and your spouse have agreed to all issues before the court in order to be divorced. You have agreed to access of your children. You've agreed to child support. You've agreed to alimony. You've agreed to the division of all your marital assets. And you've agreed to the issue of attorney's fees, if any. So if you can do that, that's that's great. I mean, that's the best case, and that's best for the children. But there's always something that maybe people get hung up on or they need a little help on. So I'm happy to help there too.
One of the questions I get a lot is, and maybe this is people watching too much TV, and you can tell me if this is true or not. One spouse is thinking of getting divorced, and the other spouse thinks that the spouse that's thinking about it doesn't think the other spouse has a clue. So what they do is they go and they meet with all the family law attorneys in the geographic area to try and conflict them out from representing their spouse. Does that really conflict the family law, like an initial consultation? Does it really conflict the family law attorney from representing the other spouse?
Yes. So, I mean, I hope attorneys aren't recommending that clients do that, because, everybody has the right to seek counsel, but it does conflict attorneys out. And my hope always is when somebody comes in to meet with me and they say, my husband or my wife has already met with an attorney, I'm crossing my fingers that it's somebody that, is very reasonable, maybe practices or thinks like me, and somebody I can work with. Wouldn't it be great if my client had already met with all of the attorneys and the spouse is limited to a few people? But yeah, if you meet with somebody, you have that background information, and you have too much knowledge about the other spouse.
So what you're saying is you want your spouse to have a good lawyer, because a good lawyer is going to know a good deal, and a good lawyer is not out just to run up the fees. The good lawyer is going to want the case resolved. Let's talk a little bit about that. So there are family law attorneys that work by the hour. There are family law attorneys that will do stuff based on flat fees. There are family law attorneys that sometimes will bill based on stages of the case. How does all of that work? So somebody comes in to meet with you, and I'm assuming they have to give you a retainer, and then you bill against it. And what are the different fee models, and how do they work?
So I think every firm is different. I am lucky enough, I've been with the same paralegal since I was out of law school. She's been with me since I did my tax controversy work. So, having a team and then being able to delegate down is a big deal. And I think it's also a savings for my clients. But we do work hourly. I've done flat fees for maybe an appeal case, but we bill hourly. And then what we do is we do have retainers. And so a litigation retainer, as you can imagine, would be much higher than a consultation retainer or a negotiation retainer. And then we delegate down as much as we possibly can. We have a team of associates who have lower rates. Again, my paralegal has a much lower rate. And then you just delegate down as much as you can.
All right, let's talk about how the different aspects of a family law case play out. So somebody's thinking about getting a divorce. What's the first step they should take?
So I think that you should meet with a lawyer, because if you meet with a good lawyer, you're going to have the pieces in place to do this, what I say is the right way. Now, mind you, I'm the oldest child in my family, so I believe my way is the right way, and nobody else's way is right unless it's my way. So, again, do you have minor children? Let's meet with the attorney. A good attorney should map out a plan for you. What's the best way to do this? What's your plan for separating? What's your plan for telling your spouse? Do you need a therapist involved to help you tell your spouse? Is this a domestic violence case? Is there drug abuse? Is there alcohol abuse? Those types of things are on the rise, unfortunately, with the shutdown. And what else needs to happen? Do we need to have you gather all the financial documents before you tell your spouse because you're afraid somebody's going to take money? Do we need you to take some money so that you have access to something that you can live off of? So there needs to be a plan. So you just don't say, spouse, we're going to get divorced, and I'm going to go meet with somebody tomorrow. So I always say, if you're even thinking about it, just spend an hour with an attorney and at least figure out what the law is, figure out what your options are, and then try and work on your plan before you move forward.
Yeah, the asset aspect of this is particularly important because there are legal, legitimate ways to move assets around, and then there's there's just blatant hiding of assets, which could really get you in a lot of trouble. Talk about what could happen if you do something shady with your assets and then you get divorced. I mean, the consequences of that are pretty severe.
One, the attorney, you have to find it, right? So there are cases where you can get money, or somebody's been sending money to a country that I can't issue a subpoena to, or I can't get the records for it, and they've been doing it for years. So that has happened. Fortunately for me, again, the connections through the AAML and the International Academy of Family Lawyers, if I have an issue, I mean, right now I have one in France, I'm able to call the French attorney and say, hey, how could I find out if there is money in an account here? And then we walk through the process. So if it's found, so that's the big thing, because it's tough when I have a spouse. This happened last year. The spouse, and it was a wife, knew husband had money in a Scottish account. Knew it. And prove it. We got to prove it. So we're pulling out all our resources to try and prove it. If you can't prove the money's there, and you can't prove the money even left the United States to go there, then what do you do? Now, if it is proven, because we've all had our cases where we've got them on cross-examination, and I have the proof that you took the money and you're hiding it. And those are what us litigators, we love. We love those days, because you can just see the judge fuming. You can see the judge is unhappy. And that's your consequence, because there's no formula for what makes the judge unhappy and then how much the judge dings you. But I like to tell people there's this one part of the rule when you're trying a case or negotiating that's not in the rule book, and that is whether or not you're liked by the judge. Maryland is an equitable distribution state. That doesn't mean we divide everything 50-50. That means the judge could say, hey, Mr. Lorenzo, you siphoned off, $2 million and tried to hide it from your spouse. Now I'm going to make her, whole. And then, who knows what else is going to happen. Then you're going to pay a little extra in alimony. I don't know. Because the judge's discretion is the judge's discretion.
Sure. Talk a little bit about the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers. You were admitted a little over a year ago now, right? And congratulations on that. How is that? First of all, it's a huge distinction. It puts you in the top 5% of family law attorneys in the United States. How is that helpful to you? You just mentioned one way is that you have people, and as a member of the American Academy, I'm assuming, are you automatically in the International Academy, or do you have to take a test for that too?
No, so you're not automatically in the International Academy. So I've applied to that, and then I'm just waiting for the results of that. So that may take a little bit longer with COVID, but the American Academy is where I start. I've kind of grown up with them because, again, my mentor and my partner, Cheryl Hepfer, she was the past president of the American Academy, past president of the International Academy. So I tagged along with her to every single event I could possibly go to, because I have nothing but good things to say about the attorneys in this group. Since, for 10, 12 years now, I can reach out to an attorney in any jurisdiction and say, hey, I practice with a fellow, and I looked you up, and can you help me? And they just stop and drop everything, and they help you. So since I have been a fellow, it's like magnified by the umpth degree. I mean, I can call and say, hey, has anybody had this matter? Does anybody have any case law in your jurisdiction on this, that, or the other? I'd like to make an argument in Maryland, but we don't have case law, so I'm getting case law from jurisdictions in New Jersey, from, surrounding jurisdictions. It's just such a good group of people. And on top of that, I mean, they're just so smart. I mean, you get ideas. I mean, and there's constant CLEs. I mean, we just had a mid-year meeting all last week. I was in conferences. And then a majority of the American fellows are in the international group too. So, I mean, in this area, I work in the DC area. So I'm in DC, Maryland, Virginia. So I have a lot of international components to my cases. So the benefit of the IAFL, it would really, it's really beneficial for attorneys practicing in this area.
Okay, so talk to other attorneys about how you build your practice, because you focus a lot on business development. What are some of the things you do from a business development perspective?
So I am a really social person. This shutdown has been hard for me. I really like to see people. And Zoom, I love Zoom. But it's getting a bit old. So I talk. I think that that's how I've developed my business. The majority of my cases come from old clients or colleagues, or actually probably also mental health professionals, because I've worked with them and their clients through the years. But it's just talking to people and connecting people. I think that I'm a connector. I naturally wake up and I really want to help somebody. So if there's a need for a therapist, right now, actually, what's interesting is maybe it's business development. You would say it's business development. I would say it's helping people, but we are having a shortage of therapists, and we need therapists. So I'm trying to connect people, and my people are booked. So I've started cold calling therapists that I have never worked with. And when they call me back, I don't just refer my clients to them, I actually interview them for like 15 minutes, and I ask them a bunch of questions. And then, because, if I'm going to send my client there, I always pretend like I'm going to go there. Do I want to go there? Do I want to send my kids there? And that has expanded my book as well, because we're just all talking, meeting new people. But I also do things, I think that if you do stuff in the community, I do a lot of speaking events. I do a lot of kids' charity events. And I have 3 kids, and so naturally, you meet new people at the gym or at the school and at baseball. But that's really how I built my book, is a lot of socializing. I rarely miss a happy hour.
And you let people know that you can handle matters that are outside the realm of family law, because you work at a firm that does a dozen other things. So
well, and that's the other thing. You're right, because family lawyers, we don't want to. Maybe some do. I'm not out there saying, "Hey, call me. I hope you're getting divorced, or I hope you're having a custody matter. Give me a call." Really, it's right now. If somebody has an issue with bankruptcy, just call me. I'll find the right attorney. And anywhere. If you need somebody who does entertainment law in LA, give me a call, because I will help you find that person. We'll find somebody that's good too. So that's and then my firm, I bring in a lot of estate planning work that kind of goes hand in hand with family law, and a lot of business work. So mergers and acquisitions of different companies and businesses. But I am lucky. Offutt Kerman does everything. So even, a client had a kid with a DWI. I know exactly who to send them to.
Perfect. All right, so let's give people a guide now. If you're out there and you want to hire a family law attorney, what's the guide? How do you pick a good family law attorney? Of course, if they're in Maryland, they can just call Sandy, and we'll give you all of Sandy's contact information at the end of the show. We're going to put a link to her bio on the firm's webpage in the show notes as well. But let's say they're not in Maryland. What should people do? What's their due diligence for hiring a family law attorney?
So really, anybody listening can call me. I will help them find somebody in their area. And even if finances is an issue, I'm helping people find people that, can't afford to call Offutt Kerman. But I strongly recommend first that you go to the Academy website. There is somebody in every jurisdiction. These fellows will help you. They want to help people. So even if you don't go with that fellow, or they're, 2 counties away from you, say, hey, who's the person I should call? And that's how I would start. I would start with the AAML website in your jurisdiction, and I would start making phone calls there.
Yeah, and it's so important to do that research independent of who your friends or your family members might recommend. because your friends and your family members, they may have had a good experience with someone, but that doesn't mean that, number one, that person got them a great deal. They just had a good experience working with them. And number two, that doesn't mean that the person they worked with is a good lawyer. It worked out for this person and they were happy, but they could be happy because there was very little friction and it got done. It doesn't mean that things were done the right way. So you can have it all. You can have an attorney that I shouldn't say you enjoy working with, because this is family law. You can have an attorney that's going to provide you with a good experience, as well as someone who's knowledgeable and competent, and someone who's going to take into account, if there are children involved, the experience of the children in going through this process. That, to me, is one of the things that I always focus on when it comes to people when they ask for a referral for a family law attorney. There are attorneys who are excellent but not a good fit for your personality. Then there are attorneys who may be a good fit for your personality but are dumb as a box of rocks. So we need to find somebody who's really good and also is going to be a good fit for your personality and all the other circumstances at play, including children, including, if there's complex finances and everything else. Hiring the right attorney in the end should save you money. Hiring the wrong attorney is always going to cost you money.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And, it's just, I also think that to add on to my recommendations is family law is so personal. I mean, we know everything. You have to feel comfortable with your family lawyer. So interview more than one person if you want to. Call 2 or 3 people. I mean, it's like a doctor. This is setting the rest of your life up, or the next chapter up. It's not small potatoes. So I always try this is what I do for a living, but I'm always trying to put myself in my client's shoes, because this is their life. And I take that very seriously. And this is their children's lives. And so, there are attorneys, unfortunately, that are just looking at, how can I run the meter and how much money is in the bank account, and I'll settle it when there's $100 left in your bank account. But if you're not feeling comfortable with somebody, or, you're just not feeling it, the personality, just go meet with somebody else.
All right, Sandy, how can people get a hold of you?
I am on email 24/7. It's kind of embarrassing. I'm up very early and I go to bed pretty late. So you can email me at sbrooks@offitkerman.com. Now that we are in the age of COVID, you can also call me anytime and I will hear it ring through my cell phone, my house phone, my computer, my office. And my direct line is 240-507-1716. Or you can find me on the Offit Kerman website.
Yeah, we're going to put all that in the show notes so people can connect with you. And of course, Sandy, it's always a pleasure to spend a few minutes with you. So thanks for taking the time today. Those of you who have listened to this episode and you want some advice about hiring a family law attorney, you can certainly reach out to Sandy. She'll help you wherever you are. So Sandy, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for having me.
That'll do it for this episode of the Inside BS Show. My name is Dave Lorenzo. We're here every day with a brand new interview for you until tomorrow. Here's hoping that you make a great living and live a great life.